Here's the big question. How is it that most entrepreneurs hustle and are always busy and struggle to take just one step forward only to fall two steps back? They're dedicated, determined, and driven, but only a few finally break through and win. This show uncovers those quantum leap patterns of highly successful people so you can simply model what they do and apply to your future success. That's the question, and the answers are right here. My name is Brigitta Hoeferle, and this is the Success Patterns Show. And happy Tuesday, everyone. My name is Brigitta Hoeferle. This is the Success Patterns Show. We are here to put the do in Learn, Do, Teach. I'm the founder of the Success Pattern Movement and the CEO of the Center of NLP. And let's take success pattern apart just for a quick moment. Because people think they know what success is, and they try to define success and make it like a perfect definition, but the perfect definition for success does not exist. Because success is shaped, it's an interesting thing, it shapes its meaning within each individual person that is seeking success or that already has success. And it's not limited to either business or personal life. It can happen wherever you decide you want to have success, however that looks like. It might involve money. It might not involve money. It might involve being of service. It might not be involve being of service. So you decide what success is. And success is modeled in patterns, strategies, and behavior. And when you are able to have enough pattern strategies and people that you can model from, then you can also define success even more precisely for yourself. And in the show, we're now looking at the patterns. In the show, we are decoding these patterns of our guest expert's success. So you can then encode it for yourself in your own life. However you want to define success and whatever success is for you. So that's the success part. The pattern part is an example for others to follow. So the question then is, which example do you want to follow? We have an array of incredible guest experts. And as we are going through these guest experts, this is not the Brigitta show. This is about our guest experts. This is about decoding and encoding success patterns. And we are learning hands-on from living teachers, from living guest experts, because we're not theoreticians. I don't know about you. I'm not a theoretician, because they only talk a good game, but they don't kind of walk it. They're grand masters at work here, and we're going to give you the tips on how to model success. That means that you are at the right place, at the right time, right here. That's what we're all about. Success is already yours. So stay tuned. At the end of this show, we have a special gift for you, and you want to make some notes on that. By the way, you want to make some notes either way. So if you have something to write with and something to write on, now is the time to get that, because we have a great show coming up. Today's show is all about leaders are learners. And we only learn when we go through challenges. We only learn when we're able to work through whatever other people might see as a failure or mistake. And there is a real process in that. And my guest expert is a real expert in that as well. He's an author, he's a speaker, he's a consultant, he's a podcaster. I actually was invited on his podcast. He's an entrepreneur. In his 25-year career, his passion has been creating that culture of continuous improvement, not just in organizations, but in organizations ranging from manufacturing, software, and hospitals. He has a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering from Northwestern University and an MBA in mechanical engineering from MIT. If you know anything about engineering, and I come from a country where engineering is kind of a big thing, MIT is definitely the place that you want to vet your people. He's the host of multiple podcasts, including My Favorite Mistake And I love that podcast. We had so much fun on his podcast. And he's the author of 4 books. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have the one, the only Mark Graban here with us. Mark, welcome.
Hey, Brigitta. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. Mark, learning from mistakes and what was the podcast called again? Your favorite mistakes.
My favorite mistake. Yes.
My favorite mistake. Where did that come from? How was that born?
There were a couple things that came together, and maybe this is a success habit now that you make me think of it, is that I'm willing or able to pull together different pieces of ideas or my life that I'm exposed to. So for one, one of those books that I wrote, I was really the editor of it. I wrote the first 2 chapters and had 15 other authors. It was a book called Practicing Lean. So a lot of the work I do, there's this term lean that comes from lean manufacturing, or we might talk about lean healthcare or lean startups. And this idea of practicing lean was to write a book that talked about this practice. And when we're new at something, whether that's riding a bike or playing an instrument or what have you, we're probably not going to be very good at it yet, but we keep practicing. And I think the same thing applies in professional settings. So in the book, the first couple chapters, I shared stories of mistakes that I made in the first couple of years of my career, mistakes that I recognized, I reflected on, I learned from, and then I had this idea, maybe I could find others in my field who would be willing to do the same thing. Not to dwell on our mistakes, but just to remind ourselves and to remind others, like, don't be too hard on somebody who's new to a field or a practice or a discipline. And that idea stuck with me. I had an opportunity. I've been hosting my original podcast for about 16 years now, which is in this niche, we call lean management. And I would get pitched different guests and I would have to say, no, they sound great, but they don't fit the narrow casting that I'm doing. And summer of 2020, I got a pitch. Would I want to interview Kevin Harrington, who was one of the original sharks on the show Shark Tank? And I thought, I got to stop saying no to opportunities like this. Like, how do I find a way to say yes? And so brainstorming with the guest bookers and a couple PR people, would anyone actually be willing to share a story about a mistake? Kevin Harrington's people said yes, he would. And he was my first guest. And so he was amazing. He told a great story and how he learned, from that mistake that almost put himself out of business, right? So it's a pretty vulnerable story that he told. And so now I've interviewed almost 200 people and asked them all that same question: what's your favorite mistake? And the other thing that came together was my love of music and the Sheryl Crow song, My Favorite Mistake. So that was the inspiration for that part of it.
Now, you just mentioned it, right? That admitting to mistakes that we make. And I think the more we are aware of some of the drastic mistakes we made, will really propel us forward. How can we equip, and I'm speaking to all of my HR people out there, how